We need change. Big change. Positive change.
Cannot afford another lost Liberal decade. We need to put Canada first for a change.
Only New Democrats can be trusted to look out for you.
Canadians will head to the polls this spring. What leaders of the major parties are pitching on day one of the campaign? Plus,
definitely tariffs are on the mind.
Average cost of living, pricing of groceries.
as the election campaign kicks off across the country, including here in BC, what issues are top of mind for voters? Also,
my biggest concern right now that with the closure of the Bay store, that the building would be boarded up for a long period of time.
the Bay will start liquidating dozens of its stores across Canada Monday, including the longtime location in Vancouver's downtown core. Why it's a blow to the area's struggling retail sector, and what's next for the massive space it occupies. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. It's official. Canadians will head to the polls at the end of April to elect a new government. Today, the federal election campaign kicking off across the country. JP Tasker now on the moment this high-stakes election under pressure from the U.S. got started.
The trade war election is officially underway.
There is so much more to do to secure Canada, to invest in Canada, to build Canada.
After going to the Governor General to trigger the election, Liberal leader Mark Carney pointed to the tariffs and annexation threats coming from U.S. President Donald Trump as reasons why he needs a strong mandate.
President Trump claims that Canada isn't a real country. He wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen.
The former central banker says he has the experience to steer the country through an economic crisis. He helped Canada manage the Great Recession, and he can do it again.
I know we need change. Big change. Positive change.
And he's leaning on some homegrown star power to get his patriotic message out.
Will there always be a Canada? There will always be a Canada. All right, elbows up. Elbows up.
Carney's pledge comes as Trump says he's dead serious about annexation. The president is promising even more tariffs on April 2nd.
When I say they should be a state, I mean that.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he won't bend to the U.S. administration, pointing out even Trump himself says he prefers to deal with a Liberal.
Our nation is more divided than ever before because the Liberal, radical, post-national, borderless, and globalist ideology has weakened our nation.
Poilievre says the Liberals don't deserve another term. It's time for change at the top.
It's the same old Liberal MPs, the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal advisors, the same Liberal elites, the same broken Liberal promises of the last 10 years. We cannot afford another lost Liberal decade. We need to put Canada first for a change.
With the poll suggesting the NDP is in a distant third place, some progressives are parking their vote with the Liberals instead. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is urging them to stick with the party.
Only New Democrats can be trusted to look out for you.
This will be the shortest campaign allowed by law, just 37 days in total. Election day is April 28th, and polls suggest it's going to be a tight one. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
With a federal election now called, some of the candidates from Canada's major parties hit the ground running in the Lower Mainland this weekend. Our Michelle Gassoub has more on what remains top of mind for many British Columbians.
Canadians have the next month to decide who to vote for, and for many Vancouverites, affordability and tariffs are top of mind. Definitely tariffs are on the mind. I feel like the job market hasn't been great. It hasn't felt great for a while, so if that continues, that's a concern for sure.
Crime, homeless, housing, those are probably my three biggest things.
Public education and housing for the unhoused as well, and supports for them.
Cost of living, average cost of living, pricing of groceries, and just, day-to-day stuff. It's hard to live right now, and definitely paycheck to paycheck for a lot of people, I think.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Mark Carney asked the Governor-General to dissolve Parliament and call an election. It was granted, thus begins a 36-day campaign, the shortest allowed under law. Some campaigns have already kicked off in the Lower Mainland.
Let's paint this riding orange, and that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to take this right through to Election Day.
That's what we're going to do here in Vancouver Granville. That's what we're going to do across the country, and we're going to do with each and every one of you together. Thank you.
It's shaping up to be a tight race in BC. While polls have shown a recent shift in favor of the Liberals across the country, the Conservatives appear to remain ahead in the province. This political science expert says the outcome of the election is nearly impossible to predict.
This is an unprecedented election, to be fighting an election in the middle of one of the most serious international crises that the country has ever faced.
With tariffs and threats to Canada's sovereignty, he says the stakes couldn't be higher.
You know, this is a moment where we need strength and we need unity, and we need to get behind a government, a leader that can really resist the threat that Trump poses to us.
Voting day is on April 28th. Of the 343 ridings up for grabs across the country, 43 are in BC. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
This province's distinct regions and voting patterns could define the outcome of the election and which party forms Canada's next government. Our Ian Hannamansing visited one of those expected battlegrounds, Burnaby, to find out what issues matter most to them.
What's the big issue for you in the election campaign?
Maybe healthcare, and immigration, and security. Those three.
Have you made up your mind who you're going to vote for?
Well, I mean, it's everything in my mind, but of course, things will change. But it doesn't matter sometimes, you know. If politics is politics, right?
What do you hope for in this election campaign?
Hope for? I hope that there's just a party that presents itself that kind of care for the citizens and kind of putting us first. Like, we're in a pretty difficult situation in the world, just with costs continually rising, and I want someone to present themselves as caring.
I'm very concerned about the tariff tax that is imposed by Trump, and we're so affected.
And is that, to you, the big issue right now?
Yeah, and also the prices of the commodities.
Honestly, I'm looking for someone I can believe in this time. There's been lots of promises in the past, not a lot of follow through, and it's just going to be a matter of who convinces me that we're going to see results this time.
Yeah, so how do you make that assessment? How do you make that decision?
That's the question. Honestly, I've been struggling with that while listening to the various leaders and listening to their platforms and what matters to them.
This is the first time you're eligible to vote in a federal election, but you don't think you're going to. Why not?
I just don't feel like I need to. Like, it's either the Conservatives win or basically the Liberals win again, right?
So are you actually an undecided voter?
Yeah, undecided.
Leaning one way or the other?
No, I don't really have a big opinion on it.
Okay, so this is fascinating because a lot of time and effort is going to be spent by the parties to get your vote, to get your attention. So what do they have to do to win your vote?
I'm not sure. I think, tackling issues that are ongoing, I think housing is a big issue happening. I think the costs of everything is kind of rising.
Yeah.
So
what does somebody need to do to win your vote?
Tell the truth.
Yeah. And do you think you're going to get that?
No. Is as extinct as the dodo bird in today's world, which is a big disappointment.
And so if you had a message for the political leaders who might be watching, what would you say to them?
Actions speak louder than words.
And by that you mean?
They need to do things, not just talk and talk and talk and talk.
Former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson is running in the federal election. He says he was invited to do so by Liberal leader Mark Carney. Robertson will be running in the Vancouver Fraserview South Burnaby riding, where there was a vacancy on the Liberal slate after Cabinet Minister Harjit Sajjan announced he would not be seeking re-election. It marks Robertson's return to politics after serving as Vancouver's mayor from 2008 to 2018. He also served as a New Democrat BC legislative member from 2005 to 2008. There is no word yet on who will represent that riding for the Conservatives. The NDP have nominated a small business owner and community advocate. A moderate atmospheric river led to heavy rainfall across much of BC's south coast. The weather triggering 2 landslides in Port Coquitlam this afternoon.
A few trees were brought down with the debris. A lot of the material is very tilly and quite rocky. A lot of cobble with the material. So we did notice one larger size tree, probably 10 to 15 centimeters diameter.
The city says it happened near a townhouse complex in the Citadel area south of the Mary Hill bypass. Frederick says no homes were impacted and no one had to be evacuated. While officials say an initial assessment determined the risk for additional slope failure is low, the area is prone to landslides, and with more heavy rain expected into Monday afternoon, an emergency operations center has been set up should residents need help. The Ministry of Transportation is also on site assessing the slide. Vancouver's retail sector is facing another hit with the closure of all Hudson's Bay locations outside Ontario and Quebec. As Sohrab Sandhu reports, city officials would like to see the massive space downtown retain its heritage value.
The Hudson's Bay Company has sat at the corner of Granville and Georgia Streets in downtown Vancouver for more than a century. A place shoppers here say represents a piece of Canadian history and identity.
It is an icon, and it's a lovely building. It holds so many memories for so many people.
I liked the fact that I could come and browse in the store. It was nice to be able to, look around. But to be honest, even I buy a lot of my stuff online, so I can see why they would close down.
Vancouver's downtown location, one of 74 Hudson Bay stores across Canada, set to close by the end of June. The looming closure on the heels of Nordstrom's closure in 2023. One retail analyst says the downfall of the longtime department store could throw the future of downtown Vancouver's retail sector further into question.
It's not like it's a desolate area, but we're missing 2 very big pieces of real estate that will be vacant right now. And that always doesn't help the adjacent businesses.
Gray says it comes at a time when big retail businesses are struggling to maintain a foothold after the pandemic.
The impacts here are on landlords, they're on employees big time.
Vancouver City Councillor Mike Klassen says the city has heard some promising ideas to fill the massive space. He says City Council will be discussing options for next steps soon.
My biggest concern right now that with the closure of the Bay store, that the building would be boarded up for a long period of time. I think the city can't afford to have that happen.
Klassen says the city continues to work on a new plan to revitalize the Granville Entertainment District, but preserving the heritage status of the building that houses the Bay remains paramount.
We hope that as part of the future negotiations on this building, if there is a new owner, that they work with the city and make sure that we create a great, vibrant space for the city of Vancouver.
The company says it will begin liquidating eligible stores as soon as Monday. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC will soon get a new municipality. Preliminary referendum results on Saturday show more than 53% of voters in Okanagan Falls were in favor of incorporating. Currently, Okanagan Falls is represented by one director with the Regional District of Okanagan-Smilkameen.
I'm pleased that this decision has been a long time coming, and we've made it. The council that comes in needs to demonstrate their fiscal responsibility. And I think as well, there's concerns about growth and wanting to maintain the character of the community.
Around 2,700 people live in Okanagan Falls. The southern interior community calls itself the heart of wine country. In a statement, the province says it would work with the community on its next steps, which could take several months. The controversial arrest of a potential presidential candidate in Turkey is sparking protests worldwide, including here in BC. Istanbul's Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu was detained over allegations of corruption and terror. Today, dozens gathered at the Vancouver Art Gallery calling for his release. Some demonstrators say it's a political ploy to keep him from running for president.
The Erdogan regime has been in power for over 2 decades, and he's trying to silence everybody, every leader in opposition.
Democracy has been dim for a while in Turkey right now. Lots of suppression from the government has been happening, but I think this was the last straw.
The group says government authorities have arrested more than 300 protesters since last week. Turkey has also imposed nationwide internet restrictions and banned all public demonstrations. The ruling government condemned İmamoğlu's imprisonment as politically motivated. The largest estuary restoration project to ever occur on Vancouver Island is underway on Coquitlam tribe's land. The project will restore an old hay field into a thriving agricultural ecosystem using thousands of native Indigenous plants. And as Claire Palmer reports, the hope is it'll improve food security for its members and future generations.
I am Jared Quistenacha Williams. I am an Indigenous chef and traditional foods hunter, harvester, user, and I guess advocate, and I think that's why I'm here today. We are standing in Coquitlam. Well, Coquitlam was recently known as Dinsdale Farm, but we are reclaiming its traditional name, which is Coquitlam, which is Little Dog Salmon Creek. It's now being the site of reinvigoration of Indigenous agriculture. And when we imagine Indigenous foods, we imagine things like salmon and like moose and things like that, but we don't really acknowledge or understand our agricultural varieties. Things like wapato and camas and silverweed and wild onions and wild carrots and all these things that were used here for thousands of years have almost all been lost. And so trying to reintroduce that so that our youth can have access to them and understanding their value.
We are standing on the grounds in the Cowichan Bay estuary. Historically, our First Nation elders used to do gardening, and we're reviving it here. It was really powerful. I could see what this is going to look like in the summer and how happy it's going to make our people and the relief they'll have when we're able to bring a box of what's coming out of here, whether it's the vegetables or the medicinal plants. A lot of our young people will be just learning about it, and the benefit of seeing their faces when they're going to start receiving this is really exciting to think of.
As a young Indigenous individual here long ago now, just always hearing about all of these traditional foods, and I've used a lot of them. I've had them, but I'm really interested in helping others realize how wonderful they are and how easy they are to use, and increasing the resilience of our agricultural system.
Still ahead, with the federal election campaign now underway, how Canada's major top party leaders are using different tactics to reach voters. That's next. Stay with us. Returning to our top story, Canada's major party leaders are using different tactics to reach voters ahead of the federal election this spring. Yvette Brend has more on how some Canadians are responding.
Mike Myers, what are you doing here?
In less than 24 hours, about 10 million people watched Mark Carney's newest ad, which featured a big assist from Mike Myers.
What are the 2 seasons in Toronto? Winter and construction. Wow, you really are Canadian.
The use of the Canadian celebrity seemingly part of the Liberal leader's strategy.
It's all invoking this idea that this is Team Canada.
As to whether it's hitting, those reviews are mixed.
Well, it's not genuine. I mean, it's important to me, but it's not genuine.
But Carney's not alone with his patriotic appeal.
So when Pierre says, it doesn't matter who you know or where you're from.
Pierre Poilievre has used Canada First as a rallying cry while also trying to highlight his family, his wife, the voice behind some of his ads.
His children know him in Francais, Espanol, and English as Papa.
So introducing himself and his family is a kind of a first family vibe, if you like, to show that this is a family like any other that has the same kind of concerns as Canadians.
Of course it's a tactic. It's not a bad one, obviously.
I worked for minimum wage to take care of my family when my dad was sick.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is also trying to deliver a personal touch.
I retie my turban at least once a day just to get
getting in on a
fresh,
hot
get a little
TikTok
snug.
trend.
Yeah, he
In
wants
what's
to
known as a
cut
Get
it
Ready With Me
from
video,
you.
Singh is
He wants to
hoping
cut
to
it
grab
from
the
CBC.
attention of young people.
for the
Already it's had more than
Conservatives-
4 million views.
They believe they can bring in the first-time voters into their fold, which is going to help that party grow.
But it's not enough to capture this potential voter.
It's embarrassed to say I never participated in an election, even though I hear sometimes they knock on my door.
While the campaign is only just beginning, in this short race, parties will have to get creative to find new ways to meet busy Canadians where they're at, even if that differs from person to person. Yvette Brend, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here we have a live shot of Canby Street on what looks to be a soggy night. I'll have your full BC-wide forecast coming up next. All right, it is time now to take a look at our weather for the week ahead. Let's begin with a quick peek at the current temperatures around the province. A reminder, a rainfall warning is in effect for Metro Vancouver and much of the south coast. As we can see, lots of rain across the board overnight, but many places drying up into tomorrow afternoon. Bella Coola, mix of sun and clouds, and a high of 14 for tomorrow, 8 in Prince George. We're seeing a bit more flurries, snow flurries and precipitation in Williams Lake with a high of 10. And on the island, 13 and cloudy with some of that rain in Victoria. Our 5-day forecast. 10 is our high for Monday, and heading into Tuesday, those digits are going right up to about 17, but we are still going to see that light drizzle, and that looks to be clearing up by Wednesday with a high of 16. That is your late news for Sunday, March 23rd. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. To keep up to date with all the latest news, head to our website at cbc.ca/bc. Hope you have a great week.